If you've tried to buy a home or rent an apartment anywhere in Vermont lately, you know prices are high, inventory almost non-existent in many communities, freezing out first-time buyers and discouraging people from moving here. In Montpelier, state leaders have focused more than $250 million sent by Congress to help build more housing and fast. Josh Hanford stepped down last Friday as the state's commissioner of housing, and before he did, we asked him this question: are we making any progress yet?
I think probably the feeling out there is not much, but we are. I think one of the best ways to measure that is the residential building permits. You know, annually the U.S. Census Bureau releases those numbers, and if we go back to 2019, we were only permitting about 1,800 residential building permits per year, and now we're up to 2,300. For the last year, we have data. So we're building 400 plus more units a year than we were just a few years ago. Is that going to solve the housing problem alone? No, we need to be doing more like we were doing back in the 80s, where it was closer to 5,000 units a year, but at least it's on the upswing.
5,000 a year.
That's what we were doing back in the 80s.
Well, baby steps, I guess.
Right.
How much ARPA money is left?
Yeah, so about 10 to 20%. I'm taking in all the different programs that received ARPA housing dollars. You know, the Department of Housing and Community Development received a portion. The largest share went to Vermont Housing Conservation Board, and also some went to the Vermont Housing Finance Agency to support everything from emergency shelters to affordable rental to missing middle homeownership. And across all those sectors is about 10 to 20% left, which is good because we have a timeline to expend all those funds by the end of 2025. And we're on track to do that.
Remind us what missing middle homeownership money means.
Yeah, so there's often middle income housing seems to be missing in the market, right? Especially homeownership. You find people that are buying luxury homes, and you can find a builder to build one of those for you in Vermont, but the numbers don't work very well for someone buying a starter home, a two-bedroom ranch that's 1,000 square feet. The builders just don't make any money on those projects, and so they haven't been building them. So this was a program to sort of help incentivize builders to build more homes like that.
What kind of impact has the Fed's campaign to raise interest rates? Mortgage rates are now 7%, and building costs have spiked. A 2x4, roofing materials, you name it.
Absolutely.
What effect does that have?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, some of the lumber costs have come down since the height of the pandemic, but now you have interest rates. So literally someone that could afford a mortgage, a 30-year fixed mortgage 2 years ago, that were just squeaking by as a first-time home buyer, received some incentives, they probably can't now, unfortunately. So that added with supply chain shortages, lack of labor, permitting slowdowns are all not good news for building more housing, unfortunately.
At the Department of Housing and Community Development in Montpelier, they track every new project now in the pipeline. The commissioner showed us a list of roughly 1,000 new rental apartments coming online now or in the next few months in every corner of the state.
And if we look back to the beginning of the pandemic, there's been about 1,000 since then created. And that's triple triple the net new affordable housing units that we did before the pandemic, thanks to all the money that's been put towards housing, the ARPA dollars. Before that, the Corona relief funds, state funding, it's made a difference. I wish I could say that the money alone will solve this problem. I think it's bigger than that. I think there's permitting reform. I think there's a larger need for just education and outreach to typical Vermonters around the state that we need housing. Housing needs to be just as important as the agricultural lands we love, our open views, our historic villages, the things we value in Vermont. Housing needs to be right up there, because at the end of the day, everyone needs a place to sleep. Everyone needs a home. And I think that we maybe haven't looked at the government's role. When I say government, local, state, federal, and just average citizens' role in supporting housing to really meet our goals.
S-100, approved by the legislature and signed by the governor this year, was supposed to address some of those bottlenecks. Did it go far enough?
I don't think it went far enough, but I'm very supportive of what we got. Very supportive of the partnership with the legislature, with our housing partners out there, municipalities, to get the most significant reform that I've seen in 20 years in this business. I think there's still some more we can do. Some of the sunsets on the Act 250, moving from 9 units up to 25 units, I think they need to be permanent, not just a couple years. I don't think we're going to solve a 40-year lack of building enough housing in 2 or 3 years. I think there's some efforts underway to do some refinements to that act, which I would support. I think the duplexing by right and ADUs by right, and more density in our areas.
ADUs, the small
accessory dwelling units, yeah. And more density in our serviced sewer and water areas. That's smart growth. That's climate resilient future, to put more housing where we already have our investments that are safe and dry, and don't take up as much of our cherished landscape. And there's more work to be done there.
You sound as if there is still some frustration in trying to build housing in this state, whether that's regulatory bottlenecks or resistance, or not in my backyard, please.
Yes, I would say so. I've seen enough projects come to a screeching halt because someone objects, and
it can be one person.
One person. Our appeals process is very open to the public, and all it takes is someone with $100 to file an appeal, and it may not even have merit, but it doesn't matter. It stops the project, at least till that's dealt with. And with the rising cost of construction, the lack of labor, you lose valuable time, money, perhaps even the contractor, the construction company that was going to build that project in that year to solve the problem. And there's examples all over the state that I could give you that's happened.
And even if you're ultimately successful, you end up building fewer units because the cost per unit has gone up in the interim.
Absolutely. You may have lost your financing. You may have lost your GC. You may have had these other consequences because and there really isn't any recourse for the developer. They can't counter sue and reclaim those losses the way Vermont's structured the laws. And that's something I hope the legislature and others will take up, is sort of the appeals process. Not to squeeze people out, people need a voice, but there has to be some reasonable approaches here, that if it was frivolous, it wasn't found to have any merit, well, what's the recourse? If you stopped a project and 10 households moving into your community, where did they go in the time being?
It's telling, he said, that big employers like UVM Medical Center now build new apartments for their employees, for new hires who otherwise won't take their jobs. It took years for the state's housing shortage to get this way, he said, and will take more time to dig out. You're wrapping up 4 years as commissioner and many more in the department. How satisfying or not has it been?
Well, I've been in the Department of Housing and Community Development for over 18 years. Started as a grant specialist, worked my way up to community development director, deputy commissioner under the previous governor, continued on deputy commissioner with Governor Scott, and then he appointed me in 2019 commissioner. It's been very rewarding and very challenging. I feel like there has been some accomplishments, efforts around, VHIP, certainly efforts to address mobile home communities, manufactured home communities, get them the support they need to be successful. That's another underappreciated affordable housing stock in our state, about 8%. we haven't invested a lot in it, and it really
Mobile homes.
Mobile homes, yeah. And the new mobile homes are energy efficient. They're appreciable assets at this point. We could do more there. So there's been some wins. S100 reform has felt good. I wish I could say that I'm leaving with more of the housing problem solved, but this work will continue. I think working for municipalities, trying to support them. They have the same need, the same goal. The number one issue of municipalities across the state is housing. So let's get together on this and make some headway.
It's a good place to end. Commissioner, thanks
Yeah.
for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Hanford has now started a new position at the League of Cities and Towns. Governor Scott has yet to name his permanent replacement.